So we've worked with fairy tales. We've worked with describing them. How do we start them? How do we advance the story? How do we let people know about our main characters and those attributes of them? So what we're going to work on for this lesson is we're going to work on closure. How do we end that story? So a strong fairy tale also needs to have a strong conclusion or ending. So we're going to show you how we provide that today. So one of the things that we have in my story, if I look all the way back up here, is remember there's going to be a castle that appears, but he doesn't really like that because he feels lonely, he misses his parents. So I'm going to be focusing on this part, which means we're going to fast forward to the end of the story. You're going to see my whole story next week sometime, but we're going to skip to the end. So fast forward, droop, and now we're going to be at the end of my story. So let's talk about what should be in an ending of a fairy tale right now. So I know that a fairy tale has a happy ending. If Peter was lonely without his parents in his castle, he would probably be happy to find his parents in the farmhouse. I set up my conclusion to my narrative last week with that planning guide. Now I need to write it and make sure that the ending provides closure, finds that sense of satisfaction. So I could just say that he was happy to find his parents and end my fairy tale, but that ending doesn't explain something important. If the castle is a farmhouse again, then Peter probably isn't a prince anymore. Would he be sad about that? The ending needs to be a happy one, so I can say that he is happy to be with his family again, and that he's also kind of learned a lesson. So this is what I have for my ending, my closure. So let's look at it together. The castle was gone. In his place was the farmhouse. He entered the front door and found his parents seated in front of the fire. Peter's heart leapt as he saw them. He felt ashamed that he had envied the life of a prince. How foolish he had been. He was home with his family now, and he had everything that really mattered. "Hello," Peter said happily as he joined his parents in front of the fire. They all lived happily ever after. Now, does it end happily ever after? Yeah, I'm saying right here that Peter said happily. And not only that, but he's with his parents. And I know he's happy to be with that because of this sentence I put in that second to last paragraph. He had everything that really mattered. He knew that his parents were the important part, not being a prince, not having no one around who cared about him. So this is my conclusion. Remember, our conclusion we want to focus on is having that happy ending and making sure that the readers know why the ending is happy. Because remember, it could be Peter's really sad and depressed because he doesn't have that castle, doesn't have that lifestyle, doesn't have that money, but it really is a happy situation for him. Now, what problem does this conclusion resolve? It resolved the problem of him not having his parents. Also thinking about it, we have this word called a resolution. So resolution means the solving of a problem. So your closing, your ending, should also have a resolution. It shouldn't just be like they woke up and it was all a dream. It should have the solving of the problem. That's good writing right there. Is you tell me the problem we had, which if you remember all the way back in my planning guide, he wants to be a prince. He solved the problem by realizing he didn't really want to be a prince. So that's my resolution. The conclusion of a story ends the story of events and tells how the stories are solved. So I want you to think about some questions I have before we go. At the end of my fairy tale, Peter is no longer lonely because... Why? Well, because he had everything that really mattered. So it's showing me that, yeah, we're solving this problem. How about this? Does this answer my question as well? If it does, then I know I have a strong closing, a strong resolution. At the end of the fairy tale, Peter learns that being with his family is more important than being a prince. So that's another thing. Since we can answer that, it means my closure, my resolution, is probably a solid one. Now, last one I have for you is this. At the end of the fairy tale, Peter doesn't feel envious of the prince anymore because, and again, we're going back to that same thing, because he realizes he has everything that matters. He has his family. So make sure at the end of your story, you solve that problem and the reader really knows how it was solved. Good luck with your closing. I look forward to reading them. And remember, they all lived happily ever after.